Hey, aloha, everybody. This is Jeff Reinebold. We're live, and we are talking ball. It is the Jeff Reinebold Show on Pro Football Ireland Podcast Network, brought to you by 888 Sport, the official, not the unofficial, not the fake, the real gambling partner of the National Football League in both Ireland and the UK. And I welcome in the illustrious and the soon to be headed for Prague for a stag weekend, Michael McQuaid.
Are we publicly announcing that I'm going to Prague this weekend? People listening on the podcast. Happy Friday to people listening in. Happy Thursday night for people live. If you're live, comment. Go on YouTube, type in Jeff Reinebold or Pro Football Ireland, and get your comments in. We'll do it in the second part of the show, which will be a podcast also. Jeff, good to see you. I wouldn't say I'm illustrious.
Mike, before we talk football, right? I just want you to know this. Been to Prague, beautiful city, great people. And much like Vegas, there is a saying, what happens in Prague stays in Prague. Are we good on that?
Yes, and the last thing I'll say about it is there will be no Sunday kickoff show this Sunday. There might not even be.
Why? Oh.
There might not even be, at the time of recording, there might not even be a Saturday Selections 888 video because it hasn't been done yet. But loads of content on Jeff's podcast feed, on our podcast feed. Really enjoyed our preview with the guys from Pro Football Ireland on Thursday. It's on there. We've got James Scahill, who's a world famous hurling player now, talking to some Patriots. And obviously Jeff's got like 6 podcasts. Man, we've never done as many podcasts in our lives. I'm loving it. I'm loving the crack, as we say, but this is our picks podcast, so we got to give some picks. What are you going to say before we do that?
Right. So how did Skell become a Patriots fan? What's up with that?
No, I think I asked him on like a show like 2 months ago, and I've completely forgotten now. There's been that many podcasts, but I'll watch it back and I'll tell you. But here's the big thing now, just to publicly announce this, I have not asked him yet, okay? But he's a famous hurler from Galway, and I think James should be at your live show. So if we need to make it happen, financially, non-financially, I think we make it happen.
Hey, there's no price too steep. We need Galway legends. I just think as we go through Ireland, we should have a legend at every show, right?
Yeah.
Can we get Van Morrison?
I was gonna say, who are you gonna put on in Belfast? Van Morrison, is he an NFL fan?
I don't know. We're talking about legends. Let's get Bono. He's got a love.
Bono.
He's probably loved the NFL.
Bono, hey. Right? Huh?
I mean, hey, let's. Why do you aim low? Let's aim high. Let's go for the stars.
I will certainly put the feelers in for Bono, and I'll get back to you. Maybe he would give us the edge in terms of any competition.
I'll go there.
Right. Week 3 NFL. We've got about 27 minutes, my man. Week 3 NFL. Anyone again watching live, get your comments in, guys and girls. Jeff, we do this every week where we give our Thursday night football pick, but people on the podcast are like, well, that was last night. We know it was last night, but we were talking about it before. Jeff, I'm going to say it's a cricket score. It's Ireland rugby-esque, 80 or 90 points. I'm only joking, but I think the Niners walked this game against the Giants in Thursday Night Football. I don't see any situation without Saquon Barkley, for never mind anything else, how the Giants win. It's going to be a long flight back to New York.
Well, you know what, Mike? If you had based it on the first 6 quarters that the Giants have played this year, I'd agree with you 100%. But what I saw in the second half out of the Giants was really impressive. And I thought really, now again, remember that's against the Arizona Cardinals. But what I did see was Daniel Jones making plays. What I did see was young receivers that, they expected to do good things, making plays. I saw them be able to run the football when they needed to run it. Now, Saquon not being there, that really, really puts a void in your offense. I agree with you. I would certainly take the 49ers. What the 49ers have got to understand is they cannot take the Giants for granted. You're just not going to throw your helmet out there and, expect you're going to win the game. Now, both of us have picked the 49ers. And so before we move on to the next selection, I want to send a shout out to my boy Flackers, who's back in San Francisco,
Is he
celebrating
there?
his
Is he
50th.
there tonight?
He's there. He is going to the gold mine. He's going to be amongst the rest of the faithful. And what a way to spend your 50th birthday if you're a 49ers fan. So Flackers, as we say in Hawaii, ha'oli lahanau, have a great, great birthday. And, I hope your Niners don't disappoint you.
Yeah, like in my last role in this sport, I worked heavily with the Niners and heavily with the guys from the 49ers UK group. I know there's also a 49ers Ireland group who have a big meetup in October. So a massive shout out to Owen and Mark and the team there. Flacker's a great guy, nice guy. Really, really like him and genuine lads. So wish him the best. Hope he has a great 50th birthday and maybe they might put up 50 on his birthday, Jeff. Let's move on very swiftly there. The Colts are going to Baltimore and playing the Ravens. I'm going to give you the show tonight, Jeff. I'm just going to say I think the Ravens win. I like what I've seen from Anthony Richardson in the sense of he looks really bold and determined, but don't tell anyone. He reminds me a wee bit of RG3. He's going to get himself beat up out there, man, if he keeps doing that.
Well, I think he's not clear whether he's going to play or not. He's been in concussion protocol all week. I think this is a much anticipated game because the Colts were originally the Baltimore Colts before they bolted. Mr. Irsay's senior took the team and headed out of town. And I just really think that this is one of those deals that, be careful in this one. If Richardson plays, they got a chance. They got a puncher's chance. If he doesn't play, no chance. Impressed with what I've seen from the new Todd Monken offense in Baltimore. Lamar looks better and better each week in his new role as more of a true drop back quarterback. Obviously, Zay Flowers is a revelation as a rookie. They've still got the big physical linemen. They got Ricard. They got, they're going to run it by committee. Their defense is solid. I think the Ravens are a very good football team. And as they continue to develop, if they stay healthy, Mark Andrews is back. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens in this one.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of talk last year around the Ravens and expectations, and there was a lot of analysts high up in them. This year, I'm starting to buy it. They look really, really good through 2 weeks. Intrigued to see how to play against Indianapolis. Hope we see Richardson back soon. I've been really impressed with how he's taken to the league, and hopefully he's okay and he's back very soon at the right time. Tennessee, Cleveland, Jeff. Do you know whenever you buy like a hoodie or like a shirt or something, is there like any way of, like you got a receipt and you can leave things back within like 14 days? Can they leave back to Deshaun Watson or what's the crack there? Because, oh my God, he doesn't look good, man.
No, he hasn't played very well. And, for the money that they're paying him, there's been no return on the investment. And I think that part of that is, he's coming out of a training camp where he didn't play very much, and he's got a new group of people around him, and he's got a new right tackle. Conklin went down, and they lose Chubb. Now they're in. I won't say they're in trouble. I think that's too strong, but I think that this is a team that, this is a big game for them, a big, big game for the Brownies, and if they can find a way to win this, I think it goes a long way, especially if Watson plays well at quarterback. I think that'd be a big boost for them. The Titans are going to do it the hard way. They're going to be in game. It's going to be close every week. They're going to have to run the ball, make plays. It's just one of those things. I thought, they did a great job last week. However, again, this Browns team, there's something about them. You kind of like the grit of them. You kind of like the dirtiness of them. When I say dirtiness, I'm talking about, they're kind of a team that's below the wire that, has the ability to beat you. So I'm going to take the Brownies, in this one.
Woof, woof. You can join Jeff on tour in the UK and Ireland, linktr.ee/Reinebold. In case you can't spell Reinebold, where have you been for the last 20 years? Reinebold. Derry, Dublin, Belfast, Cork, Galway, Limerick, Glasgow, Manchester, and depending on Jeff's schedule, which I nor Jeff know yet. I have no idea if Jeff does know. London at some point. I'm not going anywhere else, Jeff. I'm sorry, I can't do it. My wife will literally leave me. So let's move on. Falcons, Lions. Falcons, Lions, baby. This for me is low key the game of the week. Now, I believe we're now in a situation as fans in Ireland and the UK that I feel that we deserve to have a second game live on TV. And this is just me coming from the fans' perspective saying this. And I think as good as the Chargers Vikings game is going to be this weekend, we'll talk about it in a minute. I think this game is low key 10 out of 10. The Lions are so good. The Falcons are 2-0 in the season. They've got an unbelievable run game. I want to see more Desmond Ridder. And do not sleep on that Falcons defense. I'm up for this, man. I think it's gonna be a great game. I've picked the Lions, but the more I talk about it, I'm thinking the Falcons can make a serious upset here. Just gonna say it.
All right. Who would have thought 18 months ago, right? Who would have thought 8 months ago that Falcons Lions in week 3 of the season would be a marquee game? But both of these teams and both of these head coaches, you talk about 2 breaths of fresh air. These 2 head coaches are fantastic. Both teams are on the build. Both teams have dynamic young superstars. Both teams are physical. Both teams want to run the ball. This has the makings of, and you don't think about the Falcons this way. This is one of those knockdown, drag out, last man standing kind of games. And as much as I like Arthur Smith, and I think he's very, very good football coach and a genius in some ways and fun and all that, if it gets down to a knockdown, drag out, are you going to bet against Dan Campbell? No way. And so I'm taking the Lions.
Okay. Really excited to see the Falcons at Wembley next Sunday. Credential pending. Let's see what happens. I've got the flights. I've got the taxi transfer. I don't know what's going on yet, but we'll find out. Shout out to the NFL and to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is going to be a great game on paper. Trevor Lawrence, the Falcons, really excited to see it under the arch at Wembley Sunday week. New Orleans at the Packers. My guy Dan Whelan playing for the Packers in his home debut in the regular season at Lambeau Field. More so, obviously, Jeff, I know you're going to do a piece either this week or next week on Jordan Love and just your thoughts about Jordan Love so far. But the Saints are 2-0. Saints are 2-0, and the Saints are going to go into Lambeau Field, Jeff, with a real marker to put down and a real statement saying we're unbeaten and we think we can go all the way. Derek Carr's had a decent start.
Derek Carr's been good. Let's be honest with you. Derek Carr's been good. Like, I thought he rallied himself in the first game. He played better in the second. I think it's a work in progress, right? Obviously. But the Saints are a very talented team. Derek Carr has been a guy that I think this move has been good for. Certainly been good for the Saints, but it's been good for him. You talked about Love. I was studying Love today on film, and I'm going to break down some things that I see him do that if you're a Packer fan, you got to say, yes, sir, we got it right. And this kid took all kinds of hate during the offseason from the media. And I'm going to tell you something. There are things that he does that make you go, that's a young Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's almost eerily familiar the way they play. Now, obviously, some of that is what rubbed off on Jordan Love when he was a rookie and a second-year guy and playing behind him, watching him practice every day, watching him control an offense, watching him, understand how to manipulate the defense, all those things. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm kind of bullish on that young kid right now. And I think that the Packers at home are going to be a team that their defense is, nobody's talking about the Packers defense, but when I watched them against the Bears and, again, watched them last week, I think the Packers defense is pretty doggone good.
Whenever Jeff Reinebold says doggone good, they must be doggone good. That's all I'll say. Looking forward to that game, sir. I think the Green Bay Packers will edge it. Houston going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville about to play 2 games internationally for the first time in league history. I am intrigued to see how that goes in the sense of not even talking about next week, Jeff, but that break that they have and then playing Buffalo. I think that could be huge. And we'll talk about that next week whenever we have time to go through it. I like, what's the guy's name? I talked about him on the show. Oh my God, the wide receiver for Houston. He's in his third year in the league. I've lost his name, Jeff. I've lost his name. But I've been really, really impressed with the Texans, how they've played so far. I know they haven't got what they want, but Nico Collins is the guy's name. He is working so well this year. I still think they're going to come up short in certain games. I think Jacksonville's offense is too good. I was surprised to see it be so defensive last week, but I think the Jags win this game, man. What do you think?
Well, I think the Jags will win too, because I think Jags have a better football team. Again, we're talking about a Houston team under DeMeco Ryans that's just getting started. But if you're a Houston fan, you got to feel pretty good about C.J. Stroud right now and what he's been able to do. If you look at the statistical leaders in the National Football League in passing, in most passing categories, he's up there at the top half of the league. And I think that's a real statement from him. They do have a young receiver room, but it is talented. Tank Dell's, I think, a really good player. The Houston Texans are on the come, but I think right now, Jacksonville will come into this game with a renewed sense of urgency because they got beat last week and they look too one-dimensional offensively. I think Doug will take care of that this week, so I'm going to take Jacksonville.
Duval. Have you ever said Duval before, Jeff?
Duval.
There you go. There we go. We've got about 14 minutes. We've got to move on. I'm going to be quick, and this one is a Broncos fan. The Broncos go to Miami. Miami's first home game of the season in the heat. I'm taking the Dolphins, Jeff. Who's going to win this game?
I'm going to take the Dolphins. I thought Vic Fangio did a great job of getting the defense to play better in the second week. We've seen the Dolphins can run it. They've seen the Dolphins can throw it. Now, I understand Tyreek may not play. That's a factor in the game. But I think right now, everybody in Denver is waiting for the Denver defense to wake up. And Miami, let me just say this. Going to Miami against that group of receivers, that track team that they have down there, that's not a place to go wake up. So I'm going to take the Dolphins.
I think, forget about waking up, they need a resurrection down in Miami. Lazarus, can I just say this now? Should Broncos fans, not to have a conversation here, but should a quick, simple yes or no answer will suffice? Should Broncos fans be concerned that you summarized that game in 35 seconds?
No, they shouldn't be concerned, but they should realize where they are right now. They've got work to do. And, even getting plays called, they've got work to do. I saw Sean is going to shorten, they've gone into their nomenclature, the way they call plays, and they've got to understand it's taking them too long to get plays in. The plays are too wordy. So they're fixing that right now. He's going through the first year transition, right? And that's not easy. There's a lot of bugs that need to be worked out.
Fair enough. Game of the week. It's on Sky Sports. It's on your stomping ground, Jeffrey. The LA Chargers, 0-2, going into US Bank Stadium, where I hear you love the weather up there, Jeff, in Minnesota. Remember that photo?
Oh.
0-2, Minnesota Vikings. This is a huge game for so many reasons, because first off, if you're the Chargers and you go 0-3 with Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert, who has got 1.6, 1.7 years left on that rookie deal before the money hits home and the Celtic Tigers over, I think I'm going to say this now, I think if the Chargers lose on Sunday, Brandon Staley is out. I think they have to do it now to get the Raiders next week. I think he's out 24 hours after. I think Tom Telesco has to make a call, because at the end of the day, if he doesn't make the call now, the call comes at the end of the year, and he could be on the chopping block as well. I think they have to make a call now. The Chargers going into week 4 have got, I think it's the Raiders in week 4, and it's I think after that they've got the Cowboys and the Chiefs, I'm nearly certain. So they've got 2 huge games coming up after that. I genuinely think I think Staley's at the end of the road. His freak out in the press conference last week was shocking. And more so, for a defensive mastermind, they're letting too many points. And I think you cut it off now. You let Callum Moore take over for the rest of the season, and you see how it goes. Because at the minute, Jeff, they're not playing anywhere near good enough. That being said, I think it will happen. I think the Vikings, who were in the game for a decent chunk of Philly in the first half last Thursday night. I think the Vikings win this game and they go to 1-2 in the season and they resurrect their chances. But certainly for me, Jeff, it's not too difficult to get to the playoffs when you're 0-2. When you go 0-3, man, it's difficult.
You're in a really good division, right? You 0-3 in that division, you're pretty much done, I think. But I don't disagree with some of the things you're saying about the sense of urgency Staley's got to have. This is not soccer. This is not baseball, or when they change a manager in the middle of the season, it really doesn't change anything. When you make a change in the middle of the season, it's a tremendous amount of upheaval, right? Just think about what you talked about. Okay, so now let's say you give Kellen Moore an opportunity. He's never been a head coach, ever, not ever at any level, right? And he's also the offensive coordinator. Now, is he going to be able to do both those jobs with no experience as a head coach? And I know this from having done it. When you take that job in pro football and you're the guy in the corner office, it is so much, you can't even understand how much it is until you have the job. So I think that would be an unwise move. However, I do think that the Chargers will win this game because I think the Chargers are just flat better, right? And it'll be interesting. We're going to have Dalton Reisner, the newly signed Vikings offensive lineman guard, on the show. He agreed to do the show the other day. I talked to him. He said he'd love to do the show. He just wants to settle in a little bit. He hasn't even moved to his family to Minnesota yet. And Dalton obviously is a big family guy. So yes, he would be the guy on your little contest that you did. I picked him.
The National Ploughing Championships, for people wondering, is a farming festival. It's quite famous here. Just finished today. Anywho, folks, keep getting the questions and we're going to answer them. Appreciate everyone dropping them in. Appreciate everybody watching, supporting. Awesome. Top 7 in Ireland this week, Jeff. Top 40 in the UK. Really cool. Really, really cool. So thank you all very, very much. I know, Jeff, you're humbled as well. We'll both be crying off camera.
Michael, that's not us. That's the fans. I mean, that's a statement of the fans. It's not a statement of us, right? I think, and again, congratulations to all the fans who listen, and thank you very much to all the fans who listen. And it's great to see you being recognized as a top 10 podcast in Ireland and a top 40 podcast in the UK.
It's you. It's you, my man. It's you. Right here, talking about recognition and talking about world famous people. Bill Belichick is on the cusp of going 0-3 with the New England Patriots. Will it happen against the New York Jets in MetLife, Jeff? This is a real toss game because actually, not to jump and put our sponsors in, but with 888, the Patriots are favored by 1.5 in the handicap. Like, I was shocked when I seen that. I'm like, why are they favored? And then you realize, oh yeah, it's Zach Wilson. Who's going to win this game?
Well, one of the reasons they're favored is because the brain trust with the Jets on offense hands the ball to Breece Hall 4 times in a game. Your best running back touches the ball 4 times in a game where you're trying to take the pressure off your quarterback, right? I've seen breakdowns offensively from the Jets in the first week with the pass protection scheme that Rodgers said he didn't care for, but they insisted that they go ahead and cut guys, and it led to your franchise quarterback getting hurt. Now the second week, Breece Hall, okay, put him on he might be on a pitch count, but the pitch count's got to be more than 4, right? And that's your best football player. You want to take the pressure off your quarterback, run the damn ball. And so because of those reasons, I can't say the Jets are going to win this game, right? Because
oh wow! So you think Mac Jones is going to go into MetLife and win?
I'm not saying Mac Jones is going to win. I'm going to say the New England Patriots are going to win because we've seen out of the Patriots they're going to keep it close. Now this is an offense that's struggling. This is a quarterback that's struggling and it has a history of turning it over. And if the Jets don't figure it out in terms of how they're going to be able to move the ball without him having to drop back and throw it, then New England I'm telling you, New England will beat them at their own place. Now, should they? No. The Jets are a more talented football team. But I just believe from what I've seen, and I love the Jet defense. What Jeff Ulbrich has done with that Jet defense is outstanding. But that Jet offense is a mess.
Jeff, we're coming to that point of the week where it's we haven't got much time for the picks, so I'm going to match a couple together. Let's go Chicago, KC, and let's go Carolina, Seattle. Chicago having a chance.
KC and Seattle, you can bank it right now. I'm telling you, the Bears are so screwed up. All that's going on with them, the quarterback's calling out the coaches. Coaches are resigning for shady reasons.
Andy Dalton as well playing for the Panthers.
But I'm going to just tell you that, that ain't happening, right? Take those two and take them to the bank right now.
This is a good time to tell everyone that the Kansas City Chiefs against the Chicago Bears is live on Sky Sports NFL this Sunday night. Looking forward to that. And if you don't want to watch that, Sky Sports Mix Red Zone. We're not sponsored by Game Pass yet, so we're not going to advertise it, but that might be in the progress, Jeff. Who knows? Do you want a free Game Pass account, Jeff? Yeah. Coach's film. Right. Where? Folks, watch the space on that. It might be coming up next week. We'll see the crack. Shout out to the NFL for that. Buffalo, Washington is... What is Sam Howell, Jeff? What am I expecting this week when they're playing like a team like Buffalo at home? It's hard to know what to expect. I'll take Buffalo to win, but I'm intrigued to see will they play as well as they played against the Raiders when they're away from home this time.
Yeah, remember the Buffalo. Don't again? Everybody wants to announce. I don't know what it is. Everybody wants to anoint Buffalo all the time, right? Buffalo did not look good losing to a backup quarterback in the Jets on the road, right? And then they play the Raiders, who are still not anywhere near being a good football team on defense yet. And everybody says, okay, now they're back to being Super Bowl contenders. So you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to do it a few more times if you're Buffalo. To me, Washington is better. Sam Howell is the best thing that they've got in terms of at the quarterback position, probably since, I don't know how far you got to go back, RG3 maybe. But are they good enough as a football team to beat a Buffalo team that everybody said is a Super Bowl contender? We'll find out in this game. I'll take Buffalo.
Sorry, your boy was on mute, Jeffrey. You're panicking for a second there. That's what I'm like whenever I open this message and you can't hear me. I panic, but now we're fine. Anyway, almost there. We're going to get to your questions in a wee minute, folks. Jeff, important thing to note here. We're going to talk about that Cowboys news properly in the second podcast for people listening. If people watching live, we'll talk about it in about 6 minutes. But you mentioned the Giants there at the start and how they played against the Cardinals. Look, this isn't even a contest for me on Sunday. I've got the Cowboys winning by 30 or 40. I'm sorry. I'm just going to put it out there and say
I don't. 30 or 40, I think, is a little bit of a reach.
No, I think they'll destroy them, Jeff. I don't think the Cardinals will even get a touchdown in this game. I'm really putting myself in trouble here, but not this week, Jeff. Well, the Giants made them look better than what they were.
Think about it. This is a Cowboy defense giving up 10 points in 2 games. 10 points in 2 games. Now, granted, it was a bad showing by the Giants in the first one and a backup quarterback in the second one. But again, the Cowboys' schedule to start the season is, what we thought were going to be tough games in the Giants and the Jets. They basically just rolled on. And Dak, I was impressed with him last week. I'm going to take the Cowboys as a prohibitive favorite.
Okay, my man. Have I forgot in my professional capacity? Have I forgot about any games? No, I haven't. Apart from Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Very quickly, we got to move on. I'm taking the Steelers to beat the Raiders in Vegas, and that is not because I now produce, promote, and host the Steelers podcast for the global market system. I genuinely think the Steelers go in. Their defense looked legit the overnight against the Browns. I think they go in to beat them.
Yeah, the Steelers defense was the reason they won that game last week. Right now.
Oh, absolutely.
If there's a get-right opportunity for the Steelers offense, it's against the Raiders. because the Raiders are just not quite good enough. Chandler Jones is struggling with some things off the field. So that leaves Max Crosby basically to do it himself up front. And, again, you're talking about a team that's just not quite good enough yet. I think, that Josh McDaniel will have a good plan for Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's got a ton of, they got real good depth on that defense. Their front seven is really, really good. Highsmith the other night was, everybody talks about TJ, and they should, but Highsmith on the other side as an outside backer is, I like a lot of those Steeler guys from years gone by. They just find a way to draft those kind of guys.
Okay, my man. 2 Monday night games, and we got to bounce. Philly at Tampa Bay.
Philly.
Okay. I'll say Philly, but I'm intrigued to see how close it'll be. That's all.
Philly.
LA Rams, Cincinnati. Now, we do not know. It's Thursday night. We do not know who's playing for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow was padded up today. I think they're bananas playing him. If it's your man Browning or whatever, I still think they get it done. Very, very close. I'll take the Bengals, but I really like the Rams, Jeff. Are you going to be rude here and pick the Rams for the crack, or what's the plan?
I tell you what, I am riding. I am captain of. I am stoking the coal into the fire of the Puka Nacua hype train. The 5th rounder from BYU who has set 2 NFL records in his first 2 games, right? 2. Michael Irvin didn't do it. OBJ didn't do it. Jefferson didn't do it. Diggs didn't do it. Devontae Adams didn't do it. Puka Nacua did it, right? So I like the Rams. I'm a little bit more bullish on the Rams than you are. And how about this one? If you're a Rams fan, how it has changed. You just gave away Cam Akers for draft picks. Like, it was almost like Les Snead was allergic to the draft. Like, he didn't want to have any draft picks. But now, again, they give Cam Akers to Cleveland and get I think it's a 6th or a 7th. I think they swap spots or something. But that's a step in the right direction.
Shout out to Mark Hogan for his sexy graphic skills. Look at that.
There you go. There's my man, Puka Nacua.
15 catches, single game rookie record, 266 receiving yards for the second most in the NFL this year. Oof. Right, Jeff, we're going to wrap up this segment.
Pardon me?
Huh? We have to wrap up this podcast. That we're still live. We got to wrap up the podcast segment. Just let people know Jeff is coming to Glasgow on the 25th of November. linktr.ee/Reinebold. I've never seen anything like it. Celtic are playing at 3 o'clock. We're doing it during the day. We're not going to make Parkhead, Jeff, but hopefully we can get a few fans in to the unnamed location. Do you want to give us an aloha, and we'll tell people to enjoy Week 3?
I'm going to say this. To all the people that bought tickets, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. For those of you who have not, you better buy them soon, because we're down to just handfuls at a number of locations. And it'd be a shame if you weren't able to be a part of it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a blast. We're going to be all over Ireland, all over England. And now we're taking on Scotland. What more? What more? I don't know.
All over England. Not going to be all over. We're going to Manchester.
Hey, you're not done yet. You're not done yet. We're gonna stretch you out a little bit, Michael.
Okay, we've got another podcast coming up where Jeff answers some questions and I try and give my unbalanced opinion also. Jeff, for now, aloha, my man. Aloha.
Aloha.
Okay, everyone watching live, watch this for a cool interlude. Jeff, kick us off for our questions podcast in 5 seconds. Go for it, my man.
When this thing got started, when the Jeff Reinebold Show originated, the original Coffee with Coach, it was called, the whole purpose of the show was to give the fan a voice. And we still have this mailbag section, or whatever you want to call it. Call the coach. I don't care what we call it.
Call the coach.
Bottom line is, it's your opportunity to talk with us, to be in the conversation, to get on our show. And there is a stipulation, however, and Michael's really lax about this. Michael's not a hard ass about this, but I am. We want to know where you're from when you call us or write us or text us or email us or however you get in. Let us know
Telegram,
where you're from. We're not asking how much you weigh, your eye color, any of those. We
your
just want.
IP address.
What?
I'm joking, Jeff. I'm joking. IP address, yeah.
Let's take some questions, Mike.
Oh man, it's good to be back 3 weeks in. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope you've enjoyed the content this week from both ourselves and Jeffrey. Just to remind people, Jeff is on tour. He's going to Scotland on the 25th of November during the day, and Manchester the week after during the day. And then there's 6 dates in Ireland, which are a wee bit mad. But linktr.ee/Reinebold is your place to get all your Jeff Reinebold goodies soon, if we ever launch a merchandise line. Anyway, Jeff, we've got questions, but we need to talk about something before we get questions. Fred's already put a comment in at the start of this. Lads, Trevon Diggs torn ACL, no or N, and about 17 O's in capital letters. This actually first was reported, Jeff, probably like 4 or 5 minutes before we went live. The Cowboys are concerned that Trevon Diggs has torn his ACL. He's off for an MRI right now, looking like the season's over. Wow.
That's why it's so important that fans understand, and this is so unique to our sport, because I don't know of another sport where the injury factor weighs so heavy in a game and in a season and in a career. And Trevon Diggs is part of that Cowboy defense that has been absolutely stifling for the first 2 weeks of the season. Now you take him out of the mix. It's a different equation in the back end at Dallas. And what they have been able to do, because they're so dynamic up front, is they've been able to get after the quarterback with 4 guys. And because Diggs can match almost every wide receiver in the league, and you now can really, you've got the best of both worlds. Take him out of the equation, and now the windows in those zones get a little bit bigger. The opportunities to win against man get a little bit better. And those are the things that we're going to have to wait and see. I am really, really hopeful that it's not an ACL, that it's whatever lower leg injury he has, and that he's able to continue to play and get back in a few weeks. If it is an ACL and he's done for the season, it is a potential, and I'm going to say this, a potential game changer.
It's a potential game changer. Just checking out the internet like Pat McAfee does live whenever he's live. If Pat McAfee can do it, then I can do it. Shout out to Pat. Continue success in the ESPN. Have you had a chance to check out Pat's stuff? No?
Yeah.
The ESPN?
I like
man, did you watch his stuff in Colorado last week? Really enjoyed that. Anyway, back to the topic. Pelissero, Ian Rapp, Adam Schefter all saying he's out for the season. It's just to be confirmed, basically.
Well, I know everybody's in a hurry to break news all the time, so I'll wait until the Cowboys say it, but that is really certainly a tough one. Fred Flunk, who's from where?
Lucan in Dublin.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fred, if you're not.
And a great guy and a loyal listener to this show. Fred is a diehard Cowboy fan. He might be the biggest Cowboy fan I know outside of Texas. And obviously he's concerned about this because it is a tough situation. But as we say in the business, Mike, next man up.
What be crazy? He's big Cowboys fan.
Not as big as Fred.
Jeff, for people on the podcast, you're wearing a hoodie that says Triumph on it, and for a second I thought you were Deion Sanders with your cool gear. No?
Well, I tell you, let's talk about Deion.
Let's talk about him. Did you get a pair of sunglasses? Because I didn't.
I absolutely love me some Deion Sanders. I'm just going to tell you, I enjoy Deion Sanders. And I think Deion Sanders is having so much fun taking the Mickey out of the entire college football world. And you know what Deion Sanders does, Michael?
What?
he tells the truth. And he's not afraid to call a spade, as they say.
Well, I don't believe him today about his son. So he said apparently today about his son Shedeur Sanders that he's going to not play in the draft. He's not going to be in the draft next year. He's going to play on because he wants to be the number one pick, and he feels that he'd be overshadowed next year. I think that's complete cap, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Dion is a very intelligent man. We had his oldest son, who now works as an administrative assistant for him, for us at SMU. He was drafted by my good friend Jerry Glanville in Atlanta. He played for June Jones. June was the first one that put him over on offense and taught him a route so he could go score touchdowns for offense and on defense and on special teams and go play, outfield for the Yankees and in the World Series. The guy is phenomenal, and he's always been that guy, right? And so anybody that thinks he's different, this is Dion. Look back, at the Falcons when Jerry was there. Dion was like off the chain. He was Dion, and he's gonna be Dion. And all of a sudden, because he gets the head coaching job at Colorado, he's supposed to now talk in cliches and not tell the truth. That old saying, dogs got to be dogs, man. They can't be cats, and that's Dion.
Dogs got to be dogs. There's a guy, YNWA Cop 27. As a Man United fan, I'm not saying that out loud. It's not a good time for me. Jets or Patriots, our first live NFL game this weekend. Good.
Where's Cop 27 from?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
I'm not reading any more questions if they don't tell us where they're from.
Okay, well, I think this person is going to, from what I can see, I think they're traveling across the Atlantic this weekend. So I'd at least read it out for the crack, and I'll answer it if you want. It's his first or her first NFL live game this weekend. So flying out to MetLife from Europe somewhere. Good chance. Let us know where you're from, folks, if you can. A good chance of it being a low-scoring game. Hopefully the Jets defense shows up this week. Jeff, that's a big commitment, flying across the Atlantic to see the New York Jets against the New England Patriots.
I'm not buying it, Mike. I said you got to tell us where you're from, or I'm not reading it. I'm done.
Oh,
when they come back and tell us where they're from, then I'll read it. I'm not reading it.
There he is. He's from Lisburn.
Now we're talking County Antrim. Nice to have you with us.
Is Lisburn not in Down? Is Lisburn not in County Down, or what's the crap? That's a whole different.
Let's answer the question. Yes, I am hopeful that the Jets defense shows up because Jeff Ulbrich, who's the defensive coordinator, was a guy that played at the University of Hawaii. He is a great young football coach. He's got that defense playing extremely hard. What I would be worried about if I'm a Jets fan, will the offense show up? That's what's got to show up. They've got to score some points. You cannot rely on your defense to win you football games. They can help you win football games. But in pro football, we use the term complementary football. You need help from every segment of the ball. Let's face it, the Jets won the first week on defense and special teams. Then they lost the second week because the offense couldn't score, right? So you're not going to win football games scoring 10 points in the National Football League. It's just not going to happen on a consistent basis. So no matter how good the Jets defense is, if they don't get some help from that offense, it's going to be a long season in New York.
Matthew Taggart, first off, is from Newry in County Armagh. Boo, County Armagh. I'm only joking. Newry's in Down. Hold on, I'm getting confused.
How about my man Matthew Taggart? And I get it, right? That's the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders logo, which he's ripped off to use his initials, MT, Matthew Taggart. I love it, Matt. I love it.
What if potentially they ripped him off? Like, there's a whole different conversation. Anyway, was the Trevon Diggs injury in any way associated with an artificial surface? Fred is also pipped in this, so I have seen your comment, Fred. If so, this should push for further action towards playing an actual grass surface. Man, I feel like we have this conversation every second podcast these days. Like, obviously, the Jags and the Falcons are going to play on real turf or real grass next week. It's an interesting point, Jeffrey.
Well, it is, and I think, again, something that the NFL is looking very closely at. I hear more and more about it all the time. Players Association has a whole committee that's about playing surfaces that they play on. I've been to the Cowboys facility. They have the ability to practice on AstroTurf or artificial surface, and they also have the ability to practice on regular grass. Where they practiced, I don't know. But again, I would think they would be on grass during the week to save the players' legs, because every player that has ever played and every coach has ever coached will tell you that surface does take, it takes years off your legs.
Time will tell what happens if they can replace him for the World Cup in 4 years. I'm sure they can do something in regards to that there. Let's see. We've got loads of different questions here. Let's see. So we have John Murray, who's asked a question. He's saying he's a Bucs fan. He thinks the game on Sunday is going to be a close game. But yes, he thinks the Eagles, and he thinks Baker will show old Baker. Do you think Baker will have a bigger performance this week, Jeff, against the Eagles?
Mike, does your wife ever get mad at you?
Yes.
Because you don't listen? Now, I'm not getting into your personal business here. I'm asking a question.
She does get mad at me. If you're looking into where John's from Dublin.
Dublin, Ireland. There's what I was going.
I'm nearly certain.
Yes, you sniffed it out right there. John, welcome. And yes, I agree with you. I am in cahoots with you. I think Philadelphia will go into Tampa, and I think they'll beat Tampa by 5 points.
You've been full Dion mode since you put those glasses on, man. Jer from Galway, living in Dublin. Yeehaw. Jeff, I remember you were originally skeptical of Justin Fields. Jeff is skeptical of a lot of quarterbacks, including Anthony Richardson at the minute. Any hope of redemption for Justin Fields, or is it another case of a Bears field QB? Jeff, can I chime in and say a very quick sentence on this? I think it's over. It's just over. That's
well, there's serious issues in Chicago. But Gerard, here's my thing, man. I was skeptical because of what I saw him as a college player. In a one-read offense where he didn't have to full field read. He's a great athlete. He's got all the physical ability. But when you talk about going to the next level and playing in the National Football League with all the complexities that you see on defense and all the complexities of the offense and the calls and getting them in, it's amazing. But I will say this. When you do what he did, and I know he's tried to backpedal from it in the last 24 hours, when you throw your coaches under the bus, you've committed now not an unpardonable sin, but certainly you've marked yourself. And the Bears are in trouble in a lot of ways right now. The franchise is in turmoil. I watched both of his games, every play for 2 weeks, first 2 weeks of the season. He looks confused. The offense looks disjointed. Simple concepts that, like front and back things, how to win on leverage, all of it you don't see in the offense. I can't even describe to you what the offense is. It's just a hodgepodge, right? And he looks confused. I think you watch his receivers; they look frustrated. Claypool looks disinterested. It's just they're a mess right now. That's the only way I can describe it. They're a mess.
Hodgepodge. I've never heard of that.
Mike, if you stay with me long enough, you're going to come up with a whole new vernacular.
Persona.
Did you like that word?
I loved it. Last question. We're going to have a wee chat after this, and this is us. Unless if there's any more questions, we'll try and get them in. Ken Catchpole from Worthing. Is Matt Canada or Kenny Pickett the main problem with the Steelers' offense? And is Canada really on the hot seat? Did you see Coach Tomlin's interview after the game, Jeff?
Yeah. I thought he handled it masterfully. I chose Neil and I do this segment on Inside the Huddle where I choose an assistant and a head coach of the week. And I gave Mike Tomlin my vote for head coach of the week because I thought he did a masterful job of guiding that Steeler team. They were able to win a game with a bad performance offensively, 2 defensive scores. There's a saying in our business, they never ask how, they just ask how many, when it comes to wins. Obviously, the Steelers have got to get better on offense. Canada has been a lightning rod for criticism since he came to Pittsburgh. This was supposed to be the season. They went out and got Sayamalu. Pickens was supposed to have a great year. Pickett was supposed to take a step. Obviously, they've got football players. They've got talent on that Pittsburgh offense. They need to start showing it. And certainly, you can't fire all the players, and you shouldn't. They don't need to. They need to play better as a football team offensively. And, Pickett's been a huge disappointment to me personally, because I thought coming out of training camp, what I saw in training camp was a guy ready to take a step. And now what I've seen the first 2 weeks is he's in some ways regressed even to his rookie year.
Is there any other topic this weekend, Jeff, that we haven't talked about or haven't thought about as we decipher ahead of week 3 this weekend?
No, I think, Mike, when you talk about a season, a football season, right? Normally for us, we play 18 games. So you break it down into 3 6-game segments, right? Obviously in the NFL, they play one less game. They play 17. So let's say you break it down into 3 5-play segments and then, 2 bonus games. You want to come out of every single one of those segments with a winning record. So if you're a team right now that is potentially going to go to 0-3 this weekend, if you don't win, that puts an awful lot of pressure on you. And, that's why it's so hard to dig out of a hole in the National Football League, and why teams like the Chargers and the Vikings and, the number of teams that are right now staring at Ophir, if you have hopes of getting to the playoffs, you have to perform this weekend. This is a big weekend of games. Win this weekend and you got a chance. Lose this weekend and it's going to be really, really difficult.
Absolutely. And I'm buzzing to see what happens this weekend. I actually get back into the country just whenever the game's kicking off. So looking forward to chatting some ball whenever we get there, Jeff, and looking forward to putting the feet up and watching Brandon Staley and what could be his final hey-ho as a head coach. Time will tell. As we said, Vikings against the Chargers is on Sky, 6 o'clock, Ireland, UK time, and the Chiefs Bears in the later window. Sunday Night Football is the Steelers against the Raiders. You can also get the game as an NFL Game Pass with DAZN. Also, Jeff, for people listening to this podcast or watching, linktr.ee/Reinebold if you want to see Jeff do his Deion Sanders impression in person. 6 dates in Ireland, 1 in Glasgow, which is just went and sealed today. Get the tickets while I can, and 1 in Manchester, which is going fast. So, Jeff, obviously looking forward to seeing you in person. That's going to be great because we don't want to give too much away. But that show in Glasgow is it's very close to when you come here, and that's all we can really say. So it'll be a nice initial weekend for all of us. Thanks to everybody that's listened tonight, watched, comments, everything. It really, really does mean a lot. Jeff, have you any final things to say before we depart?
No, I just want to say a big mahalo to everybody, to 880 Sport for, the official gambling partner of the National Football League in UK and Ireland, for sponsoring this show, and obviously to you guys, Mike, at Pro Football Ireland, and all of our fans, everybody that listens to the show, everybody that communicates with us on Twitter or Instagram or any of the other social media platforms, that is a member with us on YouTube. We're going to continue to bring you play breakdowns. I'm going to break down Jordan Love. As a matter of fact, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go put it together so I can get it to Mike before he goes on his excursion. And I will call it that, an excursion to Prague, Czechoslovakia for the weekend. So again, aloha.
I'm joining the European League of Football, Jeff, just in case you're wondering.
Prague Lions, go baby.
Prague Lions. Folks, enjoy week 3. Appreciate everyone following and supporting us all week. Have a great weekend. Slán, go Tinfall.